How's it going, guys? It's Winter. I'm back with Aegis to do part two of our Beyond the Red Mirror video. Last time we checked out the song The Ninth Wave. Now we're going to do Twilight of the Gods. Now, Aegis, we established in the last video that we're listening to the bad guys speak, not the good guys. And they're basically trying to inspire their own people to go on a cleansing of anyone who is religious and follows the old gods or King Arthur in their realm. What did you think of the song?
I thought the first song was pretty dark, but it was funny because it's during the choruses it sounds upbeat and hopeful, and then in the verses, like we said before, it gets like right down into the dirty. In that case, it's cleansing people who still believe in God, so who aren't on the side of the what is basically the bad guy. Do we even know the bad guy's name?
Not that I know of, and that's part of the thing with this album. I think his name might be. Just give me a second because I wrote it down. There was one thing that wouldn't translate when I tried to use translate of the initial Latin, which I'll just read it to you. It says, "Light and dark, light and truth, the last side of the spear, light forever, a new angel lives discotitus." So there's one word there that wouldn't translate, um,
I wonder which one.
and discotitus. Um, so every other word when they were speaking Latin translated into English. The last word didn't. So I wonder if, especially because they call him the last side of the spear, and they say a new angel lives, and then they say discotitus, which is the one word that won't translate. I'm thinking his name might be discotitus.
That's a crappy name.
Well, it's the best I can do, buddy. You asked me. it was the closest I could come to a guess.
Fair enough. I guess we'll have to take it. I'd prefer Jim, but this go to this will have to do.
It's going to be Frank from now on. All right. So this song gets a little darker, although again, I love that it hits the balance of it compares light and darkness, and it basically says they're the same thing. Even though obviously it's not, especially when they're doing what they're doing. I love that visual reference of no matter how you think of this, there's another way to look at it. But of course, in this case, what they're doing is beyond forgivable, and they're just trying to justify it, right?
True.
So
Mm.
my little spiel, and there isn't as much information on this one. This song is what it is. It's dark. It's well done because again, it paints a portrait of a much more complicated situation than I think you would expect. But Twilight of the Gods is very frequently tied in with World War II.
Oh.
Um, it's tied in with when Japan was fighting the United States, and basically the emperor of Japan, how he was forced into being seen as immortal after World War II. So the battle for the islands around Japan and the conquering of Japan is sometimes called the Twilight of the Gods, because the Japanese people were forced to accept that their ruler was not an actual god.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So that ties in pretty heavily with the actual song. So even though I don't know that it's correlated, I would be curious whether or not that potentially inspired the name. All right, let's hit play.
Okay, so first off, what are you getting from this first?
Well, it's still a speech. First things first, this entire section is definitively still a speech. He basically says, how dare they be so misguided? How dare they be so evil and praise the old gods? Um, we must go after them. And they attack them. And then it's weird because it almost acknowledges the gods, because what this is basically saying is we're going to kill all their believers, which effectively kills them, or at least it puts them into a permanent slumber. But if they come back, they are powerful enough to wipe us out. There's no retreating from this once we do it.
Unless they go through the red door or the red mirror.
Right. So it's a weird thing that he's effectively acknowledging that these are powerful gods, even though he's basically saying they aren't gods. Um, and if we go through with this cleansing, if they ever come back, they're going to punish us.
So what I thought before is that they didn't believe in them or believe that they existed, but now they don't believe in them, but they know that they exist at least in some form, whether it be spiritually or a physical form at all.
No, no, they believe in them. They believe they exist. They're the old gods that literally put them in the situation they're in. They don't believe that people should believe in them, meaning believe in them as in follow them. They think it's a crime to follow these gods because these gods allowed what's happened in their land to happen.
Right.
And he's saying they're weak, he's saying they're privileged, he's saying they're, all these things, but he's also acknowledging, if we do this, if they ever get the chance, we're going to be punished.
We're gonna be fucked if they come back.
Right. And then it says the king is gone. In other words, they're tearing down all the old leadership in their own realm and he's replacing them and uniting them. So this does show that whoever this speaker is a rebel in his own land. He's killing off all the old kings and replacing them with himself and uniting them.
Do we know what kind of like position in society this guy held? Because if this guy's just some schmuck off the street who's trying to rally a group, where the hell is he getting the power to kill off kings?
He sounds like a priest to me. His speeches sound very religious, even though they're anti-religious, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So anyway, that's what I get out of the first verse. Do you get anything like that, or am I off the mark?
I mean, you think you're right on the money. Yeah, I guess I guess when I first heard it, I thought that they were kind of marching towards like starting to cleanse, but I guess also if they're listening to this war priest like chant and get them hyped up, that's another way to do it.
Well, no, I think this is in the middle of it. I think you're right. They are cleansing them. I think this is his speech while they're doing it. I'm
Oh, he's up
picturing
on the
him in the middle.
sidelines and like kind of like going blah blah blah, kill them.
Yeah, I'm picturing him standing in the middle of a burning city screaming this.
Man, that's nuts. I also think yeah, you're right probably.
Yeah, carry on. Pause.
So
So, so the wheel keeps spinning is a reference to their own song, "The Wheel of Time." I also like how he acknowledges wherever he goes, there's war. I wonder if he makes a correlation that it's him.
hmm, is it me?
um,
No, everybody else is the problem.
right, but I think this is an interesting part of the song because it adds an extra texture. He's telling these people, and this is why I think this takes place in burning attack cities: lay down your ancient faith, give up your gods, come feel our change. This is the message to people that he is conquering, saying, we will embrace you, we will unite you, but you have to give up your old gods.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about earlier, how I said he plans to unite them. When I hear this sounds like, again, he's trying to sound like he's so positive. We're helping you. Meanwhile, we just murdered your 5 neighbors, but you should join us.
He's not really giving them a
Right?
choice though. It's like either join me or die. Like that's not really an option.
Right. Exactly. All right.
What's drows?
Drowse.
Drowse. So
It's
like,
like half asleep.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I figured. Okay.
So one part I find interesting there is if you want to back it up just a little bit so I can see the lyrics. A little further. A little further. I know where I'm going with this, but I want to be able to see the part that I'm talking about. No, not the chorus. I want to go back a little bit to the verse. So pause right here. So he says, "Would you dare to walk with me? Would you dare to walk with me on down? I hail all these non-believers." Do you notice that ties in with the first part of the album where he sings, "Walk with me through the fire, walk with me to Avalon, or to through Sheol, and walk with me to Abaddon"?
Yep.
Do you get what he's saying here?
Uh,
Because this is
no.
pretty dark. This gets pretty dark. He's forcing these people to convert to non-believers, and then he's telling them it's too late. Now that you've turned on the gods, they'll punish you if they ever come back.
I hail all these non-believers. So like hmm, yeah, I
You back
guess
up a little further, he says just like another sentence.
the old gods, black and white, to me they're gray.
Actually, let's just redo this verse. Let's just hit play so that we don't have to keep tinkering here.
Yep.
But listen to it from my point of view of what I just said. And then it goes right back in the chorus. So
Yeah.
he forces them to convert, and then he basically says, "This is the twilight of the gods, but if they come back, they're going to punish everyone who abandoned their faith. That I made abandon their faith."
Man, I guess, but if they ever come, yeah, I guess, why is he? Well, I guess they have to because they feel like they're not getting helped by the gods. They feel like they're cursed by them, but if they come back, then they're screwed.
Yeah, at this point they feel abandoned, but based on what they're doing, they know if the gods come back, they're not only abandoned, they're going to be killed, right?
Well, they're going to
But
extreme measures to get everybody on their side, like them either killing them or forcing them to reject their faith.
right, and it comes down to the same things as when you force people to commit crimes with you. It almost says, "Well, now you're one of us." It's like taking a blood oath or a bones pack. You've done something wrong yourself. You might as well stay with us, because if you go back to the other people, you're pretty much screwed.
Right. Did you say a bone pack?
They call it making bones with someone is basically when you're recruited, you kill somebody so you can never leave that pact. You kill someone, they're all aware of it. That way, if you ever turn on them, they can turn you over to the cops.
Okay, never heard that before. Neat.
Yeah, so this to me sounds like you're making bones with this god. He forces you to turn on their, or this, he thinks he's a god, but this priest or whatever he is, lay down your faith, come walk with me. Now that you're walking with me, your gods will never accept you again. You might as well stay with us.
So he's basically trapping them.
In his opinion,
Hmm. Well, he knows that he's screwing them up. If they ever come back, he knows that he's doomed them all.
yes, but that's the point. He doesn't want them to come back, but he's using the fear of that to drive them, right?
Right.
All right, let's hit play. I love the spiraling.
The spiraling, like the trilling.
Yeah, it sounds like things are spiraling out of control, right?
You're right.
Sorry, back up a little bit. I accidentally talked into the actual verse.
I mean, that was a solo.
Yeah,
You
but
wanna?
the verse started before I stopped talking. My apologies.
Nah, not bad.
But yeah, to me it sounds like things are spiraling, like they're spiraling out of control, right?
Hmm. I mean, that could be the chaos of what's going on too, right? Like yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just the pure chaos of it. Yeah, good point.
Hmm. Yeah. I wonder where it's gonna go to now. Let's play.
So pause. That lyric's wrong. So okay, two things. That lyric's wrong. You can clearly hear he says there's war in Disturbia, not Discordia.
Yep.
So that's one thing because that's important. They're still in Disturbia, and you can clearly hear him say there's war in Disturbia. But the other thing is he says, "Deliver your gods; they will be slain, but don't be afraid. I'm their fallen son." That's why I think he's a priest.
Hmm. So he's the one that thinks that he's going to be a god, pretty much.
Yeah, but he also sees himself as some kind of virtuous religious person because he sees himself as a son of these gods, but he's obviously not a literal son of them. So
Right.
that's why I think he's a priest. Um, that's why I think he's a priest. I might be wrong, but anyway.
Interesting. That was good. So,
Yeah.
so when they're done, since they're trapped in Twilight, like is Twilight? So that's like basically before the end.
Well, they're trapped. I take we're trapped in Twilight is they're trapped in this realm that's just eternally not good. It's very just they're in a constant state of war, they're in a constant state of darkness, but it's never allowed to end. In other words, it's not happy, it's not light, but they're never allowed to die. And I think that ties in a very interesting way to he keeps bringing up the void. He brings up the void again in the song, and I think it's almost like that want for death. If you're going to torture us, just let us die, right?
Yep.
I think that's what Twilight's supposed to represent.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it makes sense in the context of the song, at least for sure.
Yeah. So what do you think of the two songs combined and this is a concept?
Well, what I'm thinking is that this whole album is better listened to as just like a straight run through instead of just listening to one song at a time. That way you get the full vision. But it's I guess it's interesting to see it in chunks. It's almost like they're making progress in their campaign and their journey.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It would be easier, probably better for your listening experience to hear it just all at once straight through. But unfortunately, that would not make much of a YouTube video.
Well, yeah, exactly. Plus, it would be like a 6 hour video of us breaking down the entire album.
That's true. Um, Now, I would say for future reference, I really like the song Grand Parade, which unfortunately is the last song of the album. I love the song Miracle Machine, and I love Ashes of Eternity. And then the other songs are good, but just to suggest songs to you that I really enjoy.
Mm, yeah, no, I think while I work out, I'm gonna listen to this song or listen to the album. Unless you have plans for me to listen to more, I have my first like reaction.
No, I don't think it would be proper for us to listen to the entire album. I think this serves as a good introduction to anyone who wants to hear about the lore, and it also would encourage people to pick up the album themselves. I don't want to go ahead and listen to the entire album and effectively steal the album from the band. That wouldn't be what I would want.
Fair enough.
However, we could eventually do a breakdown of the plot of the whole album once you've heard it, if you're interested.
That might be something fun to do because it's yeah, it might be a little more I guess cohesive in reviewing the entire narrative.
Absolutely. And I will warn you before you listen to the album, it is just as experimental as anything you've heard so far. So just remember when you're listening to this, it's not normal music. You're not going to get a lot of choruses. You're not going to get a lot of basic. It
Yeah.
takes two or three listens to appreciate how good the songs are.
What I'm even finding is listening to these guys, like I'm still always thrown off by bands that don't like do something as simple as like rhyme in their verses. Like that's fairly common, but it throws me off when it's like, oh, okay, they're not gonna arrange their lyrics so that it rhymes. It's gonna tell what they want to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys don't rhyme very often. In fact, thinking back on some of their songs, I don't really remember them rhyming almost at all. Uh,
I mean, it's
yeah,
more
good point.
interesting.
Never really thought of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, guys, I did want to show Aegis this, and I know for those of you who are Blind Guardian fans, I may have picked a newer album and therefore an album that might not be your preferred album. But I believe in showing the width or the bandwidth of a band. And that's why next time, if we're going to do a next time, I would like to show Aegis the Bard song, and I would like to show him Under the Ice.
Yeah, you've been mentioning Under the Ice a fair bit, so that could be something we look at next.
Sounds good. If you're interested, after these three songs, are you interested in hearing more out of their repertoire?
I mean, I am.
All right, then we'll do those songs next. Guys, you have a great night. I hope you enjoyed this. I tried to give a little bit of background. And Aegis, I think you did a great job hearing a song for the first time and kind of adding in your own flavor and thoughts.
Thanks, man. I try.
All right, guys, you have a great night.
Later.